Kongversation.
I'm riding on the back of Richard Dreyfussy, my new shark animal buddy. Next up, E3 2017 coverage.
Hello and welcome to the Kongversation. I'm Hyle Russell.
And with him is me, Cameron Reigle.
And we are both right now in the DK Vine Party House. Yeah. Yeah, we're partying pretty hard here in Los Angeles. We watched Better Call Saul last night. That was pretty hardcore. Then we went to bed because we had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning for DK Vine work. So partying hard in the city of demons here. So this is being recorded on day 2, official day 2 of E3. Of course, E3 festivities have been going on since the weekend, and DK Vine's been celebrating it a couple days before that. So yeah, I feel like I'm a week into E3, and last day's tomorrow. We fly back tomorrow. We have to bid a fond adieu to the party house tomorrow morning. It's going to be sad. The party house has served us well. Helmas has been crashing here all week, along with our new digital camera, our friend 2 Junior. So we've had a full party staff here. And, of course, we are also live streaming this on Twitch to our $5 and up patrons. Check us out at dkvine.com/Patreon. And we've got a full house tonight. A lot of people are in here. They want to hear this episode, so hope we won't disappoint. So anyway, yeah, we are going to be discussing Nintendo showings at E3, but we're also going to be getting into a little bit more about what we saw over at Microsoft, of course, Rare in particular, just because so much has happened since we last recorded our Microsoft episode. And that's the way it kind of is when you're out here, because when we first devised this system of doing E3 episodes, it was season 1 back in 2013. And, of course, we weren't attending E3 at that point. And so for us, really, the excitement from E3 came from the media briefings, the stage shows, what have you, and the announcements, the reveals. And I apologize if you hear any screaming outside, too. We are in Los Angeles, and people are getting murdered left and right out there. But we're safe here in the party house. We have locks on the doors this year. So no, we're not getting stabbed. You can only take so many knives in the back at E3 before it gets a little old. So anyway, back in the day, the excitement of E3 pretty much subsided after the announcements were made. And they didn't announce anything I wanted. I'm disappointed. E3's kind of a wash. But when you're actually out here, shit is happening left and right, and so you can't really have that strict divide between, on this day we're talking about Microsoft and what's coming out on the Xbox and what Rare has, and then tomorrow we're talking about Nintendo and if Donkey Kong is in any games. You can't do that anymore. So, apologies for the bleed through for all of you Nintendo diehards who don't want to hear about Sea of Thieves. Well, you're going to hear about Sea of Thieves, okay? So sorry. But we found a lot of cool stuff about Sea of Thieves that's worth sharing. And we also have a lot of anecdotes to share about the way E3 has been broken in half this year. And for all the ways E3 is romanticized and how many people were excited to finally get into E3 this year. 15,000 people were let into the show this year. You could buy your way in. And they all have, you can tell who's done it because they have green badges.
15,000 more people.
15,000 more people, of course. 15,000 additional people. Usually E3 is kind of closed to the public. You've got media and industry. And so now it's more like Comic-Con this year or some other comparable event where you've got just swarms of people, and they all have green badges. Well, like media and industry still have the clear badges. And of course, we can't complain that much because Cameron got in this year on a green badge. Chad got in on a green badge. I was the only member of DK Vine that qualified for media credentials this year because of the weird way E3 considers what's worthwhile work to do on the site. So,
yeah, just FYI, anybody who may run with a journalism organization in the lead up to E3, they explicitly do not consider such roles as, say, graphic designer or, say, social media operator as valid forms of journalism to get into E3. 'Cause they're mainly looking for people who can spread word of mouth and write and give reviews, tell stories. So yeah, I got in on the green common peasant badge. Well, I shouldn't say common peasant because it costs a pretty penny. And Hyle was the one with the media credentials this year. So me and him have totally different perspective. Well, not totally different, but different perspectives on how E3 was this year, because Hyle has the frame of reference of how it was the previous 2 years. I myself do not. Previously, the only kinds of things I've been to are conventions such as like MagFest on the East Coast. So yeah, our perspectives are a little bit different, but I think we do kind of see some common ground in what's happening, just because it's evident why E3 is the way it is this year.
Yeah, so like in past years, and I don't want to like oversell it here, E3 has been packed, in past years, past 2 years where we've been out here. But this year, it's not only just like hordes of people wall to wall, but not every company and studio really plans for the increased amount of people. And some actually like just got hammered the first day, and they realigned things today to better accommodate for the crowds. And it's not entirely successful. Today was better than yesterday, I'll say that much, but that's not saying much. So anyway, yeah, it's been rough to play anything this year, and including Sea of Thieves, which we'll get into that. But overall, E3 is still an experience. It's still there's still a lot of magic to it. I would just like to reiterate, though, that you are not necessarily missing anything by being at home, because you can follow all of this much better than we can. The coolest thing about being out at E3, I think, is just talking with like rare people and like gaming celebrities, and you have that one-on-one interaction. And when you actually have a chance to play something, that's pretty damn cool too, I suppose. But we don't want to get too long in the tooth tonight, so let's just go on to what we have to say about some additional Sea of Thieves thoughts, and then we'll get back into Nintendo.
I'd just like to say before we move on, in spite of everything we just said, this is my first E3, and I am still having a fucking blast. It is quite an experience.
Yeah, unfortunately not a Baja Blast. That did not pan out. But when was it? Oh, God, when was it? Was it Monday? All days are blurring together. On Monday, we went to the Galen Center, which was where they had the Microsoft media briefing on, was it Sunday? Yeah, Sunday. They used to do them on Monday. Microsoft changed everything this year about how they normally operated, including which convention hall they're in the convention center. So we'll be getting into that. But the Galen Center is off the University of Southern California campus. So we got an invite to attend that, thanks to the fine people at Rare. So we headed on over and got lost through the campus because we had conflicting Google Map directions on our phones, and our competing series were barking different orders at us. So we eventually got there though, and got inside, and we got to play Sea of Thieves at the Galen Center, and yeah, they've really changed some things. Now, we saw this in a trailer on Sunday, but actually getting to experience it. And the great thing is, Cameron, we can talk about this. This is an NDA. We can talk about this.
We can talk about everything that was in what we played, and that's kind of amazing.
It's so refreshing. So, in the trailer on Sunday, you saw sunken ships. You could swim through sunken ships. And a lot of you might be wondering, how does that work in game? Are you just going to just randomly swim in the ocean and just look for ships? No, there's a really clear, precise way there's a sunken ship. It's when you're sailing on the ocean, you look for seagulls. And seagulls are... I was so excited to see seagulls in the game because I am a weirdo. And one of my favorite things is seeing seagulls. Like when I'm going to the beach, because I live in Virginia, and where I live in Virginia, I'm usually about 2.5 hours away from the beach. So whenever I start seeing gulls, man, I know I'm getting close to the coast. And I love seagulls. I know people who actually live on the coast just consider them like nuisances because they, shit everywhere and they're always after your food. But I've been wanting seagulls in Sea of Thieves. Of course, seagulls only appear near land or where there's, I guess, things to plunder to be had, food to be found. So what Rare cooked up was when you're sailing, you see a flock of seagulls. I've heard the jokes. Don't worry. Don't make them again. I've already heard them. I can only run so far away from your jokes. They're circling around the ship, and in our case, we saw the sunken ship with the bow sticking out of the water. But from what I understand, there's going to be different alignments. So some ships are going to be sunk in different ways, so you wouldn't necessarily have any visual clues beyond the goal. I'm spitballing there. I don't have concrete confirmation on that, but from what I understand, that might be the case. And then you swim underwater into the ship, and it was a little challenging to get your orientation because it's kind of dizzying to be swimming in these chambers. It feels like gravity is askew because you're used to being on these ships above water, and suddenly you're swimming through them. And I think we got a treasure chest out of there. Our crew.
Yeah, we also... something that might have attracted the seagulls, we also found bananas inside the sunken ship.
Yeah, the now infamous Sea of Thieves bananas that you just eat, peel and all. But we got a chest out of the ship. Who was on our crew? It was I think there were 5 people crews, weren't they?
I'm not sure. I thought they were still 4, because I believe they had a 4-screen setup. I think it was a set of 8 and 8 on. They would put a group of 4 together, and then have another group of 4, like in 4 monitors lined up behind them.
Yeah, you might be right, but
I think it was like a 16-player setup they had at the event.
I know we were partnered with Chad, and I think Dan from Killer Instinct Central.
I think that's right. Yes, Chad was definitely on there. I think Dan was as well. It turns out Amir was on one of the opposing teams, and we'll get to that.
Yeah, Amir from Rare Thief. So we got the chest out of the ship, and I don't know if this is necessarily true, but there were 2 sharks swimming right outside the hull of the ship when we exited. So I don't know if sharks are attracted more to sunken ships, or if this was just something for the build they cooked up.
Yeah, apparently sharks are really big fans of bananas.
Yeah, so anyway, it was kind of thrilling because the sharks, are taking bites out of you. You're trying to get the chest back to the ship. So you basically, if you don't have the chest, you've got to protect the person who has the chest. And so I started swinging my cutlass at the shark, which is only so effective when it keeps biting you. But we got back to the ship, and then Chad was still in the water being chased by sharks. I don't know what he was still doing down there, but we I think 2 or 3 of us all just grabbed our blunderbusses and just started firing at the sharks from the ship and killed them. Which I'm a vegetarian, but even I found that hilarious.
Speaking of sharks, can we go into our ship? Can we go into what our ship looked like? Okay, I'm being told we can. So something that I think was revealed as early as their Comic-Con presentation was you'll be able to make custom alterations to your pirate ship, and in this, it looked like in this setup, every crew of 4 had a distinctive ship prepared for them, showing off some of the, I would assume, these options you'll have in the future. Ours in particular was this really nice looking shark themed vessel. We had a shark figurehead up front. The boat, we had sharks painted on the sails, and the wood of our ship was painted like this really nice shade of like a gunmetal gray. It was really cool to see.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the possibilities. I cannot wait till the final game comes out, and these customizable options are actually in our control. And I don't know exactly how it works or how it works at all, but I know that we'll have control over that when the game comes out, and maybe it's something you have to purchase or something, and that's how. I don't know, but I cannot wait. And I think we want to call the DK Vine ship the Dreadfully Evil. I think that would be apropos. Anyway, so yeah, that was really cool, and we tried out Greg Mail's new riddles. So you got these riddles, that you tell you where chests are, and it's we didn't find the chest though, or did we? Did we find it at the last minute?
I think we did not, unfortunately. Apparently, we had come very, very close to it. We were sort of led with these clues to essentially I believe we went on this island and basically had to scour a makeshift graveyard. And the clues had implied to look under a pirate's discarded sword near one of the graves and dig that grave up. Now, part of the reason we didn't get there in time, this was I think it was a 30-minute session. These were much shorter sessions.
I'm personally furious that Rare would not let us play for 3 hours at the Galen Center. I think that's a disgrace, and I feel like that just proved that all the good ones have left.
But it wasn't just the time limit. It's definitely not because we were completely incompetent or anything. On our way to this island, another ship, it turns out, had beaten us there, which we later found out was Amir's crew, a crew he had been partnered with. And we kind of got in this mutual scuffle of just ripping each other to shreds. And because of that, we got to try out the combat system and how that functions in this build.
Yeah, I don't know if anything was tweaked or if I was just a badass that night, but I killed so many people, and I was very proud of myself, and I think that's how you start to develop sociopathic tendencies. So I'm a little concerned if maybe I'm Breaking Bad to go back to the Vince Gilligan universe, but I don't know. I was killing people left and right, and usually I'm the one getting slaughtered in the technical alphas, and I can't get a hit in edgewise, but I was blasting people in their heads, and it felt good. I have to say, it felt good. Anyway, that's I think all we had time to see. There's heat lightning in the sky now. independent of like when the full storms blow in, there is like you could just see like out on the waves, like on the horizon, there's just like clouds flashing, and that's cool to see. And it's one of my favorite like visual effects.
Going along with that, something else you also get with the stormy weather effects is the sea reacts accordingly. We had when we started right from the start, a very choppy sea, and you started to see that affect the gameplay dramatically because it affected you were on a ship that was constantly like tilting and swaying back and forth, like really naturally in the water. The way we were sat, we were particularly close to the screens. Like you had nothing in your field of view but the screen. I think for a second I even got slightly queasy. I think I had to just back up a bit, and I was good.
Yeah. You did get seasick. I mean, not slightly queasy. You were full on seasick, Cameron. I mean, by the end of it.
Well, by definition, I suppose I was, but.
Yeah, that's you've got you don't even need VR to get seasick when you got screens that big. But yeah, it was really cool. This build is it's amazing. It's so much more than it just was the other week when we last played in a technical alpha.
Yeah, and like something I picked up on right away, the sword combat in this build, I think, is like ever since they've introduced swords, I think you've really seen a leap, like in just the footage they've shown. I noticed like swordplay this time. In my and granted, I haven't played a lot of games that have this, but I have played at least enough to get a general feel for it. Most first-person games I play that have some form of melee weapon, there's generally this sort of feel that you're kind of like just blindly shaking a stick and praying that it has some form of collision detection with whatever you're in front of. The swords in Sea of Thieves in this build, they feel like they have like an actual heft and sharpness, and I got to give a special nod to the audio team. There's like some really satisfying like metal clanging effects in this, and I felt like when I actually was in sword combat with the players we ran into, it wasn't just a matter of who was pressing the trigger the most or just happened to hit it at the right time. This felt like an actual kind of satisfying, calculated battle, and you felt like you actually won rather than lucked out when you managed to do somebody in with one.
Yeah, the sword play is something I've not really had much time to like play with in a technical alpha because I never dare to get that, because usually the pirates I face off against are just trying to shoot me. So it's more like, okay, if I get close to you, I'm just gonna get assassinated. So I'm going to just not try to stab you, and I'm going to try to snipe you from a distance.
See, I usually end up going the opposite way because I can't aim. My aim is just terrible. So I figure, like, even if I get like shot in the shoulder a couple times on my way to just try and run you through, it's hedging my bets a little bit, and especially if the opposing player has a gun, maybe they just don't pull out the sword in enough time to stop me.
But yeah, I mean, the build was very impressive, and I cannot wait to actually get to play it again because I have not had a chance to play Sea of Thieves since that day, which is something we're gonna get into. I should point out I did approach Mike Chapman, and I basically demanded that they put monkeys on the islands. I was like, Mike, where are the monkeys? And I don't know if we got a very committed answer, but he seemed to nod his head, and he knew we wanted monkeys on the islands. I did not ask about Captain Black Eye because he knows, Mike Chapman knows, we want fucking Captain Black Eye. And I think every survey I do after a technical alpha, I bring up, hey, Captain Black Eye, and they know DK Vine wants Captain Black Eye. They want a physical appearance of Captain Black Eye. Just a minor appearance, can be somewhere in a tavern. Well, it doesn't matter. But Greg Mails already like teased that, whether it was inadvertent or not. Yeah, and so you know, they know. For the chat is reminding us we never talked about shooting people out of the cannons, which that's pretty damn fun. I didn't know how to do it at first. You have to like get you have to kind of position yourself a little bit further out to load yourself, and you have to like aim the cannon ahead of time.
Yeah, I think we need to get into this. This is something I believe Joe Neat, who narrated our session, right?
No, I don't remember who actually narrated it. I don't remember.
Yeah, to give context on this, I think in the interest of course, making the most out of the session they're allowed of, making sure everybody gets a good feel for the game, Rare will have someone from the team patched into the chat communications to kind of guide, give the player advice, and something they had told us that we didn't figure out initially is these, even though the visual is very similar, funnily enough, when you hop into the cannon, which kind of like made me smile a little bit to Super Mario 64 when you would hop in the cannon and just sort of see this circle around you.
But you don't blast yourself to a half-completed castle. Where is the back of the castle roof, Nintendo?
Yeah, if you hop in the cannon, you cannot aim yourself. You will have to, as Hyle said, either aim the cannon before you crawl into it, I believe, or, and this is how we were told to handle this, another member of the crew will have to, once you've loaded yourself, get behind the cannon and aim you in like an assist.
Yeah, and oh man, it's fun getting blasted out of the cannon. It's a fun sensation, I have to say. Never thought I'd want to become a carny who, you know, is like the man who gets blasted out of a cannon, but I'm disappointed that was not my major, because this is quite a good time, and I can't wait to play around with it more. Unfortunately, a 30-minute session just wasn't enough time to really like dick around with it. But yeah, Sea of Thieves is looking incredible. And at the actual LA Convention Center, they've got their setup, and Rare has a new statue this year. Yet another one. They're going to run out of room to put these damn statues back in Twycross. I don't know what they're thinking, but because this one is the most, like, the largest and most impressive yet. It's a new character, and we posted about it on social media on both Facebook and Twitter, so you can check that out. But from what we heard, her it might not be her official name, but this is what they're calling her. It's Belle, like the Beauty and the Beast character, Belle from off of Beauty and the Beast. And she is this ghostly figure, and, well, you know what? Cameron has a better eye for design and details than I do, so I'll let him describe her to you.
Yeah, as you've seen from the pictures on social media, sort of this ghostly, pale, spectral figure. The statue itself had glowing blue eyes, and I'd just like to say as an aside, it's really amazing to see these character designs brought to life in a physical space where you can walk around and see these characters from every angle. Who was it? The Skelly Lord and the gold hoarder Skelly. Yeah, they were also present again this year. Skelly Lord was moved to a separate section away from the rest of the Microsoft stuff to promote Mixer. Anyway, getting back to Belle, the spectral figure. We noticed a few like neat little design things that may not be apparent in the photos we took. For one, she's wearing a ring of some sort. It took a while for us to figure out what was on the ring. I think we've reached a conclusion. It's like a very simple, stylized ship of some sort. She had barnacles growing on her boot. And Hyle, did you want to go into barnacles briefly?
No, on their little like set design for their booth at E3. I don't even know what you call it. It's not really a booth. It's like it's the same like deck they used last year, like their dock or whatever. But that they've got like I guess it's this is like a bucket of water that she's floating over.
Well, here's something interesting. I'm not quite sure what this structure she was sitting on is. It looked like vaguely like a buoy, but like a one that would be appropriate to the vague like 1600 setting of this. And something interesting about that, and this may play into why she's being called Belle internally. As you can see in the photos we posted, she's sort of hanging from this structure that has a bell attached to it. The bell itself has this like symbol, sort of what would it be, like sculpted into the bell itself, and this is going to be very confusing because I'm saying bell and bell, and you can't see which spelling I'm using. Belle, the spectral pirate, we noticed on the statue, has a sort of, her sleeve is pulled back because she's sort of bending back as she's balanced on this buoy, holding a torch, has this same symbol that's on the bell tattooed to, like, the underside of her forearm.
I wasn't done talking about the barnacles, Cameron. Shut up, Cameron. I'm talking about the barnacles. So there were, barnacles growing on, like, whatever she was floating, the buoy or whatever. And I know I mentioned before, I think during technical alpha sessions, I can't wait till we have to scrape barnacles off the bottom of the ship. I want, like, 5 hours of just nothing but scraping barnacles. I just want, like, tedious manual labor, because I've never done manual labor in my life, and I want to feel like a man. But yeah, so it was cool to see barnacles, and like everything else in Sea of Thieves, they're like very like stylized, and there's no like straight lines, very ghouly style, just twists and turns on all the designs, and everything's like used and ragged, and the barnacles. Well, I guess you can't use a barnacle. Well, I guess you could, but you're weird. So anyway, that's the new character, the new statue. Her name is Belle, but we don't know what role she has in the game. They're being tight-lipped about that. So then this morning, we went to the E3 Coliseum, which is off-site from the convention center. It's in LA Live, which is basically the faux Times Square, I guess, of downtown Los Angeles, where they have all these restaurants, and you don't have really traffic, and pedestrians can just walk freely. Some tourist traps, and they have the Grammy Museum there, and there's a theater called the Novo, or I believe that was what it's called.
It was either the Novo or the Nova.
I think it was Novo, because Nova wouldn't make too much sense. But that's where they're having these E3 Coliseum panels, these very Comic-Con style panels they devised because of the 15,000 extra people who are just basically convention goers. And it was really cool because Rare got in. So it was from Rare, it was Joe, Mike, Adam Park. He was not wet. Sorry, ladies. And, of course, there was Christina, who I hadn't met up until this point.
Yeah, maybe just as an aside, we should mention the reason we had gotten to this so early was there was a VR panel featuring Ivan Reitman right before this, and we wanted to make sure we had proper seating because this venue was, I'd say it was more like, say, a quadrant of a Coliseum.
Yeah, it was fairly small, and Ghostbusters is my favorite movie of all time, so I was down to see Ivan Reitman. I was more excited about seeing the Rare guys, which is weird because, I've never met Ivan Reitman, and nor would I have a chance to actually talk to Ivan Reitman because he was up on stage. But, we had to get there early because they started, like, queuing up at 7 a.m., and Rare went on at 10:45 a.m. So if we wanted to get good seats, we had to be there, so hence getting up at 4:15 in the morning. And then driving and getting there, and then finding out they don't allow bags in, so running back to the parking garage and putting our bags, and then running back and getting there right at 7. So that was fun. Ivan Reitman. It was cool to see him. He's developing a. I'm not clear on the details because I am pretty ignorant on VR. it's not affordable to me at the moment, so it's just not something I pay attention to. I'm very interested in virtual reality, and I'm glad it's being considered as the future of gaming again, which it was in my youth in the early 90s before like people just like scoffed at it as a gimmick. So the panel was interesting. I'm glad it wasn't like something I had no interest in. Really, like they won me over in a lot of ways. And Ivan Reitman's making a Ghostbusters game. Apparently, it's at Madame Tussauds in New York, and I don't think you can like actually like it's available for any home devices. At least that's the impression I got. But like Sea of Thieves, you crew up with 3 other people as Ghostbusters, which I think outside of a pirate game might be my favorite shared experience like that. I would love to try that out. And the panel was interesting. There was one guy who looked like the crooner Michael Bublé with the Tony Stark goatee, who he was like really like speaking to me about like what virtual reality needs to be and what games need to be, and I was like saying, yeah, right on, man. Like just about how like what you should feel in video games, and very much in line with like the Sea of Thieves philosophy at Rare and my own personal philosophy towards video games. And then there was one guy who said the great thing about virtual reality was you got to visit things like Hitler's marches in Nazi Germany. And the air went out. Like I don't think he didn't mean anything like bad by it, but he was like trying to give like, oh, you can like witness current events or you can witness historical events. And then he went right to Hitler, like, wouldn't it be great to visit Nazi Germany, guys? He didn't mean it like that, but you could feel the air being let out of the audience, and everybody just, like, we were like, oh. And then he quickly, like, yeah, to smooth that over, he was like, or, JFK getting blown away. And, that was a fun panel. But then Rare came on, and they announced some new things, and so we'll just blow through these real quick because I know you guys want to get to Nintendo as well, because that's the title of the episode. So the really cool thing is, a lot of you haven't signed up for the Insider program, which lets you get into the technical alpha eventually. And I think a lot of people haven't signed up because there's this feeling that, well, what's the point? Because I'm not going to get selected. It's a crapshoot, and it's just chance. And, even though it'll just take a couple seconds to sign up, I don't want to go through that effort. They announced today that everybody who signs up at seaofthieves.com/insider will get into the technical alpha before the game comes out in early 2018. So you're going to get a chance to play it regardless before it comes out. So I implore all DK Viners to do it, because every DK Viner who has gotten in has just been ecstatic about it. I know more people have gotten in this week in this new round of sessions, and we've got new converts. So please, if you have an Xbox One or a PC that has Windows 10, Go to Sea of Thieves Insider, because I want to play with you guys. I'll crew up with you. Come on. And we found out, we got confirmation at least, that you will be able to have variable ship sizes. So if you just want to play Sea of Thieves by yourself, you can have your own little mini ship. Now, the game's going to be harder, but this is something that, it was alluded to before, but we finally got confirmation. Yeah, that's definitely in the game. So for those of you who are antisocial, don't want to play with others, you will have the ability to have a tiny little ship.
Conversely, those of you who have vast swaths of friends, in which it also seemed to be confirmed in the opposite direction that you'll be able to choose large ships as well.
Yeah, and we've seen people or heard tales of them, like Rare is not like officially endorsing like armadas in the game, but you can make peace with other pirates and work together, you still like won't get to like split any gold because you still will be defined by the crews you're in. But you can work together for, mutual benefits. So, you can have unofficial, I guess, posses.
See, what I'm interested in, like, having heard all of that is, like, say you're in a 4-man crew, I suppose you could, in theory, all take these small 1-man ships and sort of have, like, this like, stealth armada.
Yeah, I really think this opens up the possibilities, and I know a lot of people have been just thinking it's just going to be like the same experience, but just because based on the builds we've seen, and Rare's been like showing off different aspects of it, like, oh, here's ship-to-ship combat. That was like the focus of last year, but Sea of Thieves is so much more than that. It is an open world experience, and I guess we need to bring up the elephant in a room, and I'm not saying that because there's a picture of an elephant behind us in the party house, which it actually is there if you've seen the pictures on social media. But we'll bring that up in just a second. So this is something that the people in the technical alpha already knew, but we can talk about it now. So one cool aspect is players can get commemorated in the game itself. So if you perform something like legendary, or you just somehow like get noticed by Rare, you will get immortalized somewhere in the world of Sea of Thieves. For example, our good buddy Amir from Rare Thief. His handle is Ione Falcon. I think that's how you pronounce it.
I-1 Falcon, maybe? Is it like I-1 Falcon, maybe? We'll have to get him to clarify that.
He's been on the show, and he clarified it like 2 years ago, but I've forgotten. So because of hard living, folks. But Amir, like during the technical alpha, would just fell out of the crow's nest like 40-some times during one session and killed himself. And the reason he was doing that was because this was before you could eat bananas in the game and get your health refilled. So whenever like they would like see like ships on the horizon, he would immediately kill himself so he could like go to the Ferry of the Damned and then come back with a full bill of health, and that's why he was doing that. But Rare was baffled because why is Amir, who they knew, who was a fake paid actor from the trailer, why was he just committing suicide like 40-some times from the crow's nest? So they like on one of the islands they have like etched in stone like here lies Ione Falcon or something, and then you got a pair of skeletal feet sticking out of the sand as if he fell from a great distance. So you can do shit like that, and actually your pirate character will get immortalized somewhere in a game. So that is something that is an incentive. I don't think I'm ever going to get in there because I like just exploring and I like studying the lore. And there's some stuff we can't really talk about because I think it's still like NDA, and I don't know if it's been in this build yet. But there's lots of lore and there's stuff that's of interest, and I'll just leave it at that. But one cool thing is that the technical alpha keeps evolving over time, and this game will continue to evolve post-release. Rare, according to Joe Neat, they have a plan at least through the end of 2019. So when the game comes out, they're going to continually add to it, keep building. Things are going to continue to improve in the game. So, maybe new NPCs are going to be added. Maybe new events. Maybe islands are going to change over time based on the events in the game. And, people are asking me, left and right, like, well, what's the story of Sea of Thieves? Well, the story is what you make of it. There are story elements, and like there are minor story elements. There is lore in the game. There is stuff that's happening that you experience that speak to the greater world of Sea of Thieves. But like the main story is your crew, your friends, or just yourself, and the adventures you make for it. And another incentive for signing up for the alpha, by the way, is when the full game is released, if you're in the insider program when it's released, as a thank you, you're going to get unique exclusive content in Sea of Thieves for signing up for the alpha. Whether that's gear or some sort of leg up, I don't really know, but that's a reason right there to sign up for it right now. Anyway, so that's everything new we learned about Sea of Thieves in this Nintendo episode. But now we're gonna kind of segue a little bit into E3 itself at the LACC, and the complete fucking nightmare it's been this year. And I don't want to gripe too much because it's still an amazing experience, and this is nobody's fault. Like, for example, this is not Rare's fault. This is not any of the people showing off the game's fault. None of the developers, their hands are tied in this. But Microsoft had a unique setup this year. So in past years, Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft were all in the same hall, which made it really convenient for DK Vine because Microsoft would be on one side, and then Nintendo would be on one side, and we'd have to just run through Sony to get the back and forth. So, we got to report on some Donkey Kong shit. Let's get over to Nintendo. Let's check out what's going on with Rare. Get back to Microsoft. That's the way it was in the past. I don't know what happened this year. If Sony said, "Hey, we want more space," and Microsoft was like, "Hey, we want more space, or we want a hall to ourselves. We don't want to share the hall with Sony and Nintendo. We want to be the big men on campus." I don't know what happened. Some decision was made, and Microsoft moved to the hall across the street, which is still connected by a long tunnel that takes you over the street, which with 20 Middle Earth Shadows of War banners of orcs and trolls and whatnot, goblins, and so it gets monotonous seeing them all. But anyway, so Microsoft is by themselves, and somebody had the swell idea to basically enclose the Xbox the games in this black cube. So basically, everybody else has these nice wide open displays with elbow room and places to queue up. You long lines forming. Nintendo has massive lines. Microsoft is in this black cube. One, there's no airflow. The air conditioning does not reach this black cube, so it is a sweat lodge, which is great if, say, Peter Hentz or, Rare's Cameron want to go on a spiritual journey of the mind and meditate in the sweat lodge at E3.
There's your wet Adam Park for you, but it's not the liquid you expected.
Sorry, ladies, it's not sexy wet Adam Park. It's soaking wet with perspiration Adam Park. It's miserable in this cube, and what's even worse is there's no room to line up to play any Xbox games, and because of fire codes, you cannot say I'm gonna get in line for Sea of Thieves. They will not let you get in line for Sea of Thieves. Cameron, you explain it because I'm still a little confused how this is even possible.
Right. So, and this is something I know from, again, other conventions that are a bit less exclusive than E3 was in the past, is that these convention venues have to abide, according to, the venues hosting them, the fire codes, and because of the way Microsoft's setup for Xbox was this year, you had these stations for games right next to each other. I believe Sea of Thieves is sandwiched between stations for Minecraft and some really interesting indie titles. And with these sort of, as all these structures are portable, these sort of makeshift hallways or corridors, and there may be, say, 3.5 feet wide, would you say?
Pretty damn small.
Yeah, so, obviously, fire codes, everybody has to have a clear path through to the exits at all times. So, they had these security personnel hanging out at the end of every queue. Say, the queue for Sea of Thieves wasn't something that could wrap around you can describe how Sea of Thieves setup was last year, Hyle.
No, it was the same faux dock. Because this is heavily carpeted inside the Microsoft cube, and it was last year when it had a more of a wide open setup. But Sea of Thieves had this wooden dock that once you got into there was a line for Sea of Thieves that stretched outside of the Microsoft display down the hall around the corner last year. And then you would eventually get up to the faux dock, and you would get on that, and then you would be within eye shot of the actual monitors and the Xboxes where they're playing Sea of Thieves. This year there is only the dock. So only about I haven't counted how many people can actually fit it, but it's probably like 30 some.
I'd say it looked like enough to fill like maybe 2 or 3 sessions of the actual game.
Which meant that out of thousands of people at E3, only about 30 to maybe 40 people can be lined up for the game at any one time. And if you want to like say, oh, I want to get ready to play Sea of Thieves, I got to get on the dock. They will not let you. They will not let you loiter around Sea of Thieves. They chased us off Monday. They basically, because we eventually we realized we couldn't just stand there, so we decided we're gonna start circling.
Yeah, we circled like sharks, apropos. And I would stress again, like these are security people doing their jobs. There's no animosity here. It's just an unfortunate scenario.
Right, but they chased us off. The one guy said, "Look, guys, you can't keep circling. You got to leave. Like, you just got to leave." And I was just like, "But I'm a fake paid actor. I want to play Sea of Thieves." And so, yeah, it was frustrating. And at times it would get better. Like, I think the last hour of the day when people are just, kind of, everything's cooling down, then you could, kind of hang out a little bit more, and security would, loosen up a bit. But man, it just, and there's no way, I can't stress this enough, there was no way to actually queue up for Sea of Thieves. It was all down to pure blind luck. You had to be passing the queue right when it opened up, or else there was no way. We would be on the other side of the dock, near the exit from the big black cube, and so we would see the session would be ending, and we would just get around the just a few feet, just get around the dock to get to the open queue. By the time we would get there, it'd be filled up again, and they wouldn't let us in. And there'd be no way to get there unless you were just happening to be passing through. So it was frustrating. Granted, we're in the technical alpha. It's not like we have to play Sea of Thieves at E3, but it's an experience, and especially with rare people in the headset watching you play as you play. There's a certain magic to it, especially playing it with people you would never play it with before, just complete strangers. The shared experience of being there in person, playing the game with each other. So we're gonna try to play it tomorrow, and that's fine. But Microsoft's setup this year, I don't think it accounted for the 15,000 extra people. And something went wrong, and it's not anybody's fault actually showing off the games. And shit happens, but it's unfortunate because I feel bad because it just discourages people from even trying to play these games, not just Sea of Thieves, but all of Microsoft's games. And it just speaks to how broken E3 was this year with all of the extra people. And unfortunately, E3 has been operating for a certain way for years now, and they're trying to become more profitable. I guess they want to become more like a Comic-Con, but the problem is the infrastructure of E3 is not set up to be like Comic-Con.
And I feel like I should say this. I kind of felt bad for the Rare guys because we know from last year Sea of Thieves draws this enormous, ridiculous crowd, and I don't think they get to see that visual this year. There's no real way to gauge interest in Sea of Thieves when you have to keep your queue so short. And going back to what Hyle said about how E3 is this year, interesting note, since us being who we are, Sea of Thieves was where we rushed as soon as the show floor opened, and we went right to Microsoft's booth and saw this sort of packed-in sardine can, such that it was, and it colored our perception of the entire show because we saw this and we thought, oh God, nobody saw this coming. The infrastructure is not here. Everywhere we go is going to be like this.
Yeah, so it put us in a pretty bad mood from the green light, and luckily, things improved, and we did play a couple titles over at Microsoft that we wanted to play. I played one at the media showcase event on Sunday or Monday, and then we played one earlier today when we were actually at E3. One that's of interest to DK Vine, I think, in particular, and the other actually was recommended to us by Craig Duncan himself, the head of Rare. So the first is Super Lucky's Tale, which is what people are calling like Conquer, because like we said on the last episode, it looks like Conquer.
I think there's 11 missing tails in Super Lucky's Tale.
Yeah. To be clear, it looks like 12 Tales Conquer 64, the game that Conquer's Bad Fur Day was before it became an M-rated title.
And I would like to stress to, like, yes, I think pretty much everyone we've talked to, like, on DK Vine, like, just random people we've overheard at the event, like, that looks like Conquer, that looked like Tales. It's unreal in person how much of a Conquer vibe you get from this thing. As part of the gameplay features, like, you have the hole digging that we saw in, like, early 12 Tales footage. They actually have a dedicated, like Conquer had the not quite first person, but the overhead view where you could, like, move the camera around above Conquer's head and he would turn around to look directly at you. That was, like, verbatim in this demo. Like, I'm assuming a lot of this was just pure coincidence and just unfortunate, but it was kind of amazing how, for something that probably wasn't intended to be hew so closely to Conquer, I mean, I don't think anybody sets out to make their game Pocket Tales-esque, but I think we all had to wonder for a brief moment after the unfortunate fate of Project Spark if perhaps Agent Ape's Pocket Tales HD had been resurrected.
So yeah, I played it. I beat the boss, I guess you can call it that, of the area in the show floor build. It's worth pointing out this is apparently a game for the Oculus that has been ported to the Xbox One, and so I played it, and it was a solid platformer. What it reminded me of. And showing my age, it reminded me of the kind of game you would rent from, say, Blockbuster Video, like in the late 90s. You play it for a weekend or few days, and you have a relatively good time with it, and then return it. And it reminds me of like all those platformers that came out during the heyday of 3D platformers when everybody wanted a mascot character. Everybody was chasing it, and a lot just fell to the dustbins of history. That sounds like dismissive of Super Lucky's Tale. I think a lot of DK Viners will really love it. Apparently, some Retro Studios alum are actually working on it, and I think my only criticism of it is, for me, Hyle Russell. This is just my personal taste in games. It was lacking some sort of soul, and that sounds awful, but I felt like it was like, and I'm not saying this is how this was made, but it felt like this was a 3D platformer by committee kind of game where, okay, well, we got to have this character, we got to have this character. It felt like the world I'm inhabiting right now doesn't feel like a real world. Less so like what my criticism of Super Mario 3D World, where it's just an obstacle course, but or maybe that was 3D Land. I said it's probably 3D. I don't remember, but it wasn't so much an obstacle course, but nothing felt like it was like a living, breathing world. Compared to say Ukulele, which definitely feels like it's a world that exists. The characters are bustling with a personality and wit, and everything feels like it has kind of this zest to it. And Super Lucky's Tale didn't really quite get there for me, but maybe that was just the product of being a show floor build. I would definitely be willing. Apparently it's only going to be $30 when it comes out, so it might be something, if I have the disposable income and I'm like, yeah, let's check it out, I'll give it another shot, and maybe it'll totally win me over by then. But I think a lot of DK Viners will really dig it. Not to bring up Retro Studios with the digging in. I wonder. There's no correlation there. So anyway, we also played on Craig Duncan's recommendation, The Artful Escape, which was that crazy game seen during the Xbox briefing with the kind of Harry Potter kid in a Tron suit who's playing the guitar, and it looks like really psychedelic. And Cameron and I both played it, and I think we both really enjoyed it. I'll let him share his thoughts on it.
Yeah, I'm not sure where to begin with this game, but it was kind of a treat. And this was a game we both kind of played at the tail end of the day, because we had sort of taken we went our separate ways for a while. We came back. We had maybe like a couple hours before the show floor closed, which really is not enough time to get in line for any sort of high-profile game because these lines tend to be long.
Super Mario Odyssey, at its worst, had a line 4 hours long today. At best, I believe it was 90 minutes.
Actually, apparently Amir only waited an hour and 10 minutes. Apparently, the problem is it's hard to gauge when these optimal times are. It's kind of just a random chance. It's not something you can make an educated guess at. But this was a very good game to kind of wind down the day with, I think. They gave us this was an indie game. It was it was situated in the same area as the other Microsoft titles with Sea of Thieves, Minecraft. The indie stuff tended to have less of a crowd around it, so we were able to get in, play the game without really any trouble. And it was just a nice, relaxing kind of experience to break the day up. Very atmospheric. It had the main character would. I'm not even sure how to get into this. A lot of this was kind of like dream state.
Yeah, the game reminded me of, because it's like he's a musician, and I think he's on like an alien planet, and I don't really know the backstory, the context here, but he's trying to get home because he has his first show to play, and it's called The Artful Escape, and it's about his journey, I believe, as like a musician and an artist. And so like this quest he's on is about like him like discovering like his rock god within, I think. And I don't know like the whole like backstory, like what like alien world this is, but it's got like a lot of clever dialogue that's kind of like embracing like this like kind of gonzo like
the absurd like quote unquote rock god status.
Yeah, and the aesthetically it reminded me of like a mashup of Prince's Purple Rain, maybe a little bit of a Captain EO, the Michael Jackson project, and some Beatles' Yellow Submarine, just in like the weird creature designs, and just the general psychedelia of it all. And there's just like this purple sheen to it, and a lot of neon. DK Viners can appreciate that, I'm sure. And your character has a guitar that serves as kind of a tool and a weapon. And there were these great moments where you have to like shred the guitar and you can like ride like these beams of light. And it was the first time I've ever felt like I was playing a guitar with an Xbox controller. Like you really got into it, and you really felt like I'm actually kicking ass on this guitar. And more so than I ever felt playing Rock Band,
and this was all with one single button, because you used the guitar most of the time as sort of like a tertiary like floaty glide down, like sort of like Luigi in Super Mario Brothers 2, like the kind of slow float down. And yeah, I found myself just like jamming this A button like over and over on the controller, not because I had to, but just because I wanted to. The game made me feel it. And I think part of that enhancement is I can't confirm this. I could swear that because you would get these really pleasant guitar sound effects whenever you would like start jamming out, and I think it was in time with these sort of like ambient background music. I think like Chad pulled me aside and called to mind and asked me, "Did you get a Vangelis vibe from like the background music in this, like the Blade Runner soundtrack vibe?" And I think yes, I did.
Yeah. Or, David Wise in some of his DKC2 music was clearly inspired by Vangelis, as we've as gone over in the past. But yeah, it was a little experience. Some of it was like, I think I need to play more of it because I don't know how much of it is just like set pieces versus like tight and crunchy gameplay. But I really liked what I saw, and it's trippy and surreal enough, and it's got like this definitive world, and a world that interests me. Like I said on the most recent ukulele episode for Galleon Galaxy, like I really dig this kind of sci-fi aesthetic at times when it's done right, and this is just like the trippy alien world that's like. It's right up my alley, and I'll definitely have to give this one a shot.
Yeah, this was definitely the little samples of writing we got. Like it raised questions, and I'm looking forward to getting the answers. Just from the little bit we played, this seems like it would be a very good title to just unwind with.
Yeah. So the opposite of unwinding, though, is E3 2017. It's a nightmare. So let's jump to Nintendo. Let's go to the other hall through the throngs of people and get over to Nintendo, what you've all been waiting for. So Nintendo had their weird video presentation on Tuesday, when they usually have it before E3 begins, and it's always 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 Pacific, and then E3, starts a couple hours after that, while everybody's still frankly trying to set up. Nintendo video presentation had a lot of surprises, and also had some just general laughs, like, why are you guys doing this? But I think the interesting thing from a Donkey Kong fanatics perspective is that this is, I think, one of the biggest years for Donkey Kong at E3, which is odd because Donkey Kong is not at E3. Now, going into E3, we had the Super Nintendo World at Universal news about Donkey Kong Island being a part of the park. And, we come to find out, like, it was just what Universal pitched to Nintendo, but Donkey Kong Island is staying while Zelda and Kirby got cut, which is just so weird for us to actually be on the winning end of something like this. And so, like, we Donkey Kong had all this momentum going in E3 just based on the Donkey Kong Island and the Monkey Minds Madness roller coaster. And, it was just like, yeah! And then, we knew New Donk City and Super Mario Odyssey was going to be a thing. So, okay, you got Squawks Park Avenue, Ramby Street, let's see what's going on there. Yeah, New Donk City. And then there was the reveal of oh god, what's the name? It was here, I got it. Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, and we'll get into that. Donkey Kong was everywhere at E3
and nowhere. Nowhere.
Yeah. So very surreal. I don't know really how to feel about that. Like, I felt like Donkey Kong had a big presence, and yet there was nothing really to report on. It's just this weird paradox we found ourselves in this year, and I don't know if it could ever be quite duplicated. And to appreciate the absurdity of this, we need to get into what we were also looking forward to as fans of Donkey Kong, because we are a Rare fan site, but we follow the legacy of Rare's characters, the Donkey Kong Country characters, and who fell into very, very capable hands of Retro Studios several years back, who made two stellar Donkey Kong games. Donkey Kong Country Returns, I think the fan base is kind of split on that these days, but generally the consensus is Tropical Freeze, Kremlings or no Kremlings, was superb. So we really we had a hunch that Retro was not working on a Donkey Kong game. All signs pointed to a new IP. So we were really looking forward to what Retro was working on. And then during the video presentation, we saw outer space, and of course, the jokes, start flying because you can imprint anything on an outer space vista that you want to. Star Fox. I screamed out because we were watching the presentation with the DK Vine Inner Circle. $25 a month on dkvine.com/Patreon, and I screamed, Whiz-Pig, Diddy Kong Racing, Future Funland. And then the music played, and you could see the Samus logo.
I think it was a 4 that we first saw, and that started to clue us.
No. It was the Samus logo.
Yeah, you're right. The morph ball lightning bolt subtly. That's why I couldn't remember it right away. It was like a subtle cloud formation shaped into that logo at first. It's
like a nebula, and then the 4 comes on screen, and everybody's like, "What the fuck?" And then immediately then it doesn't even matter whether Metroid Prime 4 is a thing. Is Retro making Metroid Prime 4?
And this was something I think we both noticed immediately when they did this teaser was it did not mention Retro Studios by name, and that's something you think is kind of conspicuous. Most of the time, they did this with the exact opposite with the Fire Emblem Dynasty Warriors game that they're also working on, where they promoted the developers' names in front of the trailer. And I think we saw this sort of the same thing happen when Microsoft a few years back revealed Killer Instinct. It was conspicuous that. I think I was told later that the Rare logo was actually somewhere, but I didn't see it at first. But that turned out to have been developed by Double Helix, later Iron Galaxy. And so we immediately thought, no, Retro is this big, high-profile studio that everybody loves. Something's amiss that it's not being mentioned in this presentation.
By the way, in the chat, I am Gibbon is scolding me because it's the screw attack symbol, not the Samus symbol. I'm sorry, I am Gibbon. I am ignorant, okay? I fully cop to my ignorance. Look, I just got won over by Metroid thanks to Josh Wallen from Up the Geek Critique, who has done a stellar series on the 2D Metroid games, working on the Metroid Prime games now.
Including a video on a Metroid Prime fan remake, which, funny story about that. Turns out Nintendo, they revealed a second Metroid project. This was after Nintendo's video event had finished. We had packed it in for the day to just run to the show floor at this point. We figured, okay, that's it. They're not going to show anything else. This was a reveal they did after the presentation. Apparently, they were holding off 3DS reveals. The video presentation was supposed to be just the Switch, and I guess by extension the Wii U because of Zelda stuff that was in it. Apparently there is a 3D remake of Metroid 2, of all things. I don't think anybody saw this coming.
But by 3D remake, you mean 3DS?
3DS with 3D visuals. It looks like it's still played in a 2D point of view as the original was. It looks like it's being helmed by Castlevania devs, which is staggeringly appropriate. This kind of, I think, adds some context to why sorry, I need to spell it out in my head. Another Metroid 2 remake, AM2R, was so abruptly pulled off the internet. This is just just the stat. I suspect that the 3D remake that Nintendo was helming was in sort of parallel development with this game's release, and it's just so unfortunate the timing.
I feel really bad for the guy who put his heart and soul into. I see. It was a guy, right?
I'm the wrong person to be asking.
Okay. But whoever made that fan remake, it was just bad luck, and
we're having the chat confirm. Yes, it was a guy.
Okay, so this is why it shows you should never try. You should never put your heart and soul into something because inevitably some big corporation is already doing it.
At the very least, I've noticed in the past that it's maybe not consistent, but projects I've seen like gone after, and I've seen people say like, like point blank, do not use the intellectual property of others. Don't make fan games. Just make your own stuff. Don't put in on all the hard work. And I kind of disagree with that in a way, just because I've seen some really cool stuff come out of fan projects. And these like original takes on existing properties. What I think kind of happens in this case, and what I've sort of observed Nintendo go after, is games that, like, from an executive or investor standpoint, could compete with an existing product they have. Like I think like one example I remember from back in the day, like was an Ocarina of Time remake in 2D, which, granted, circumstances on that being canceled were kind of up in the air, but I think this is something like somebody could theoretically Google Metroid Prime 2 remake, and the headline would be about this fan project rather than this, I'm assuming, $40 game that, or maybe what is the price point of 3DS games?
I don't even remember. The last 3DS game I bought was Mario Sports Superstars, and I only did that in a blackout fugue state of shame. So I just woke up in the gutter clutching the game, and I'm like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah, this was just a weird, like, a lining of stars about to go supernova, and just unfortunate for the creator of the fan game, but I think this was, Nintendo probably had to step in here to protect their IP in this specific instance.
So just to clarify, Metroid is getting 2 games, and this is good news for Donkey Kong fans, because even though I do not believe Retro is working on a new Donkey Kong, I could be wrong, because who knows, but I believe they're working on a new IP, but and, maybe they could be doing 2 things. I don't know. Maybe they could be consulting on a Donkey Kong game for somebody else. I don't really know. But this is good news for Donkey Kong fans, because this, again, poor choice of words, but it gets the monkey off our back. Metroid fans are getting what they want. So now whenever a Donkey Kong game gets announced, it's not going to be this stupid either or. We're no longer going to be in competition with Metroid. Oh, you're making another Donkey Kong game, but what about Metroid?
This is a manufactured competition. It's
just because Retro did Metroid Prime, and then they did Donkey Kong, and then it just became this either or. It has to be one or the other. And it was never fair to either franchise for it to become that. And I'm hoping this finally puts an end to it, even though Retro isn't doing Metroid Prime 4. And it's funny. Like I think I knew right away Retro wasn't doing it, because Retro still has that like name value. I mean, remember how they announced Donkey Kong Country Returns? That they started it off by saying Retro. Like we didn't have Reggie come on and say Retro Studios in Texas has done some great Donkey Kong games in the past. Just something like that. But we don't even know who's working on it, do we?
I believe it came out. It's a team, a brand new team held by Tanabe.
Oh, interesting. So anyway, that's kind of ancillary Donkey Kong news, like adjacent Donkey Kong news that it affects us and it affects our fan base, but no, it's still not a game. Like I said, Donkey Kong's on the brain this E3, even though Donkey Kong is nowhere to be found. So I think with that, it would be worth bringing up. Well, can I just say, I've been bringing up the Nintendo Digital, whatever the fuck you want to call it, their little 30 to 40 minute shindig. It was weird, and it was weird because they insisted on using a green screen. So they would put Reggie and some Nintendo of Japan blokes in front of a green screen whenever they wanted to put them in these different settings. It was very poorly green. It would be like how I would green screen something. I've got a green screen set up in my DK Vine office right now, and this is how it's going to look when I really start utilizing it.
Yeah, and I think it was all the more conspicuous because I think we're so used to these Nintendo presentations either showing the presenter in a white void or showing them in like a work contest, like say, like Bill Trinen around his desk or something.
Yeah, and this was particularly weird because I apologize, I forget his name, but they put a Nintendo employee in front of the Nintendo building in Japan, the main Nintendo headquarters. And I'm thinking he's standing in front of a green screen with the Nintendo headquarters superimposed behind him. He probably did he not record this inside that very building? Like, if they wanted to get this footage, could they not have just gone outside with a camera?
Was it the Japanese headquarters, or was it the Redmond? I'm not entirely sure.
It was the Japanese headquarters because I photoshopped that being on fire in the past.
Wow.
No, just for the episode where we said Nintendo was a flaming disaster. This is before the Switch was announced.
Yeah, I have no comment on that.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, good. You know, like we watched Better Call Saul last night, so you know legally when to abstain. So anyway, yeah, it was just weird, and it wasn't. Luckily, like for my sanity, it wasn't filled with annoying dad memes like Nintendo. Honestly, ever since the Switch era, they've been a lot more somber with maybe since Iwata died, but they haven't really gotten as wacky as they tried to get in the past. And there's been a kind of just like matter-of-factness to it, which I kind of appreciate. I think there can be a middle ground. I don't think it has to be either or. Because I'm a Rare fan, and that Rare panel this morning was definitely on the wacky side, but it was the Rare brand of wackiness. It wasn't.
It was an authentic wackiness,
right? Especially when things didn't work right, like they loaded the wrong video, and it.
And we should mention this, like when the banana meme took off. Rare embraced this and like embraced it hard and really kind of got into it. Several employees have like done this sort of banana challenge that's arisen where you take a bite out of this unpeeled banana.
I really hope these bananas don't have pesticides on their peels.
Yeah, and I think it goes without saying that Robin Beanland, who's unfortunately not here at E3 with us, he's back in he's put in the best effort so far. Look up his take on it if you haven't already.
Yeah, and of course now Rare wants us to bite into a coconut, which I don't think. No, I have dental insurance right now. Okay, I can do it. So anyway, that was Retro and Metroid and by absence Donkey Kong. Also by absence Donkey Kong is Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, this long rumored title by Ubisoft that finally crosses over the cast of the Super Mario franchise with the minions, the original minions from the Rayman series, the Rabbids. And I don't know who is asking for this game, but it's coming by Ubisoft. Now, the biggest, I think, what should be the biggest news for Donkey Kong Universe fanatics and Rare fanatics is that the one and only Mr. Grant Kirkhope, the voice of Donkey Kong himself, is doing the music for this game, which is very interesting because, you know, we're so used to the Grant Kirkhope style as seen in Banjo-Kazooie, Ukulele. He's capable of a lot more, though, and this is him basically taking the reins of a different franchise. In this case, Mario. And we heard music in the reveal trailer. Well, they did this reveal trailer during the Ubisoft presentation. It was on Sunday or Monday. Sorry, I don't know my days of the week anymore. Don't ask me to sing the Happy Days theme because I would botch it. But Ubisoft revealed this before a day before Nintendo revealed their stuff. So it's kind of divorced. It's interesting on the show floor. This has double exposure. You've got you've got the Mario Rabbids game in Nintendo section and also in the Ubisoft section. So there's multiple chances to play the game. I have not played it yet because I don't really know if I care to play it. Quite honestly, it doesn't look like it's enough to hold my interest. But I want to check it out when it comes out because of Grant's music at the very least. And if Donkey Kong is in it, I hope they get Grant to voice him just for old time's sake. It would be nice to take a break from the Scooby-Doo voice just for one game and get back to the classic. Okay. But, yeah, so Donkey Kong hasn't been shown off in this game, but there is a giant DK rabbit who they're calling Rabbid Kong, and he is big and white and looks like an idiot. Well, I guess all the rabbits look like idiots, so it's not a knock on Donkey Kong's intelligence, thankfully. But he was the big reveal in the trailer for it, which was interesting. I was waiting in line for the Xbox Media Showcase event, and my phone started just blowing up with like, "You see the DK Rabbit? You see the DK Rabbit?" I'm like, "What the fuck is this?" And I was not really aware, even after I saw the trailer, what a big deal this was going to be, because not only at E3 is there a giant Rabbid Kong statue that you can pose with.
Yeah, this is literally a big deal. It outside of the New Donk City setup, this is like the largest prop associated with Nintendo this year.
Yeah, I was going to say there are larger props. There are multiple dragons in attendance this E3. One for well, there's the one I don't know what the game is. Honestly, I already forgot. I don't know if it's a dragon, but it's in the Shadows of Mordor sequel.
There's also funnily enough, there's a very similar dragon setup for a Monster Hunter, and I think we kind of got disoriented at one point because they're these dragon-like creatures with very similar like red-orange lighting. Yeah. In the same part of the convention hall.
Yeah, but yeah, this is huge. This statue, by the way, it's actually in the separate hall from the Nintendo stuff. It's on the ground level when you walk into the hall where Microsoft is, before you get up the stairs and get through the glass doors where the games are actually displayed. So this is a nice open area, and I did pose with it. You can check that out on social media. But yeah, so Rabbid Kong, and there's also a selfie contest that our own Helmos the Dreadfully Evil entered. I hope he wins, because I think he really captured the spirit of the game.
Yeah, funny thing about this selfie contest, and those of you who don't like to hear Photoshop nerdery might as well shuffle off now, but this particular selfie contest, they urge you to go to Ubisoft's asset page that they put together for this selfie contest. They provided you with these high-resolution renders of Rabbid Kong to clip out, and they've even given you a sample on the website of like, this is how you do it, in which they've had just a gentleman standing, and the Rabbid Kong has been cut out and like pasted in the foreground. The assets they provide you for this contest, and this is something I've kind of learned from, funnily enough, working with DK Vine, all of these stuff in our artwork gallery. We kind of taken pride in with when we can taking artwork that was provided and sort of making sure the background is transparent so people can use these as easily as possible. Things are accessible. This, a selfie contest where the explicit goal is to clip out the character and paste him into another context. Ubisoft saw fit to provide these images as non-transparent PNG images on a white background featuring a white character with white furry shenanigans, And that is just it's just a turducken of every annoying thing I would encounter trying to clip stuff for the DK Vine artwork gallery.
Yeah, basically, you have to crop it, and then it's gonna look like shit unless you do something with the fur, and it's really weird that they wouldn't just offer like the transparent PNG files where people wouldn't have to prop. They could just take the photo and just drop it into their photo. They could take the render and just drop it into their photo and be done with it, which is what you would think this is a very accessible contest. This contest, by the way, is going through the end of tomorrow. So,
yeah, and I would again like to point out graphic design insufficient to get you E3 media credentials.
right. So, Cameron, you should actually have a leg up if you want to enter this contest. But I've already cropped a couple for you. You're welcome. But anyway, so I do have the flyer for this contest. So let me read you the rules, because the Ubisoft representative near the Rabbid Kong statue is passing them out. So let's see here. All right, take. Let me do a proper authoritarian voice here. Take a selfie with Rabbid Kong and win a prize. How to participate? Share your selfie with the Rabbid Kong statue on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. Oh, so this apparently you can do this two ways. You can pose with the Rabbid Kong statue at E3, or you can use these renders from the so-called asset pack in Dropbox. And so anyway. You're supposed to use the hashtag RabbidKongSelfie on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, and use the hashtag Mario Rabbids. You got to use both. And if you win, you can win one of the following collectibles: a Rabbid Peach amiibo, a Rabbid Mario amiibo, or are they amiibos, or are they just... Actually, they might just be figures. They just look like figures. A Rabbid Peach, a Rabbid Mario, or a Rabbid Luigi. So you can't even get a Rabbid Kong figure by winning this. So what is the point? Yeah, and in the chat, it should be pointing out, Karate Joe is saying that Rabbid Kong is confirmed to be a transformed rabbit due to eating a banana. I don't know if he eats it Sea of Thieves style or not. That's not confirmed yet, but it doesn't sound like this is like... There was this theory that maybe this is Donkey Kong merged, like Cronenberg style, with a rabbit. Doesn't seem to be the case. Now, whether Donkey Kong is still in the game or not, we do not know. But so far, he has not appeared. And, you know, Mario appears alongside his own rabbit. There's the rabbit. There's Luigi with his rabbit. Peach with his rabbit. I think, is Wario in the game? I think we've seen Wario.
I haven't personally seen Wario. In the trailer, I did see a Toad. I don't know if it's the Toad, because that's confusing.
That's so... They were mushroom people, or mushroom retainers, if you want to refer to their occupation. There was only one Toad.
Yeah, but I don't think we saw a rabid Toad. And this is... It's weird to say this, because I feel like I'm like saying these Mario characters have rabies.
No, so my autocorrect, every time I try to type Rabbids on social media, it would change it without me realizing it to rabbis. And so it would become hashtag Rabbi Kong selfie, which I kind of want to see that Photoshop right now. So if you want to Photoshop Rabbi Kong, please send that over to DK Vine on Facebook or Twitter. And I would love to see Rabbi Kong. But yeah, so Rabbids, yeah, it does sound like rabies though. So anyway, yeah, you got this weird contest, but it doesn't sound like Rabbid Kong is actually any relation to Donkey Kong. It's just a rabbit who has been infected with a banana, oddly enough. A lot of people were telling us that this is the first example of the much fabled Pepito Kong rule for the Donkey Kong Universe Book of Law, and people stop trying to make Pepito Kong happen. The time has passed. Pepito Kong cannot... this is not Pepito Kong because this is not a Kong, first of all. And we've already had a Pepito Kong possibility with Chain Kong from Super Mario RPG. If that didn't make it work, then this is not Pepito Kong. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just go to DK Vine and read The Rules, ROOLS.
Or rather, maybe you shouldn't, so we can stop hearing this argument.
Yeah, I'm kind of tired. Oh my god, I'm tired of Pepito Kong. Because every time something minor like this happens, Pepito Kong, this is going to be a Pepito Kong type situation. Why do we even call it Pepito Kong? I'm tired of hearing the goddamn name Pepito as a result. It sends me into this just panicky state of anxiety. People are telling us to talk about Pauline in chat, so we better get to that. So anyway, Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle still not confirmed to be Donkey Kong universe, but they really do get a lot of mileage out of Donkey Kong imagery in the game. So it's going to be worth checking out just to hear what Grant does with it. It's kind of just this surreal thing. It's almost as surreal as Rare doing that Mario render for Donkey Kong Country 2.
Yeah, I believe we heard like a few seconds of what Grant was doing with the soundtrack in the trailer. It was hard to tell with the second song. Like we didn't recognize if it was an actual pop song or not, but the first bit of yeah, we thought it was Back in Black at first, but anyway, the initial bit in the trailer, you kind of hear these Mario music, but it sounds like vaguely like Grant's Viva Pinata music, and yeah, I feel like this is a really good fit for Grant. I'm sure he was extremely thrilled to get to do this for this property, and I can't wait to listen to it.
Yeah, congratulations, Grant. Seriously, I love seeing like Grant and David like getting these job opportunities away from what they usually do, and the video games in general need more music from Rare composers. So. That being said, let's get to it. Super Mario Odyssey. So a lot of uncertainty and some fear going into this event about what New Donk City would mean for Donkey Kong canon. Obviously, we have Big Ape City. Okay, so for those of you who aren't aware, by the way, I hate how I've been a fan of this shit for 23 years. And Big Ape City has been around like as a concept for almost as long, and all of a sudden this new Donk City comes along, and it's like everywhere, and nobody knows what Big Ape City is, and I feel like I'm living in this alternate reality. Like this is like some sort of weird Mandela effect where it was Big Ape City. I always remembered it as Big Ape City, but everybody else knows it as New Donk City. So it's like a Baron Stain Bears kind of thing, or
you want to go with your mood slime analogy?
Yeah. We were talking about this while waiting to see Mr. Ivan Reitman this morning. I got called out on Twitter the other week because I don't know how it came up, but Ghostbusters 2 came up on the DK Vine Twitter, which I'm temporarily running, and I made the joke about Egon fucking the mood slime in Ghostbusters 2, and people corrected. They're like, "What are you talking about? Ray fucked the mood slime." The line is, "You're not sleeping with it, are you, Ray?" And I was like, "No." The line was, "You're not sleeping with it, are you, Egon?" And so I went to YouTube and I looked it up, and I was fucking mortified because my favorite line in Ghostbusters 2 doesn't exist. It is Peter accusing Ray of sticking his dick in the slime container. And okay. And so I was like, I was wrong. I don't know how I misremembered it. Waiting in line to see Ivan Reitman today, Chad and I were talking about, of course, because whenever Chad and I see each other, we inevitably talk about the Ghostbusters fucking the moose slime. And he brought up the joke about Egon he said, Egon fucking the slime. And I was like, Chad, it was Ray who was accused of fucking the slime. And he refused to accept it too. And we're like, this is a new Mandela effect thing. this is legit. We are from the universe where Egon teabagged the slime, and to be fair, we think we figured out why that is.
Yeah, we think why that is in the moment of that scene where Peter asks, "You're not sleeping with it, are you, Ray?" He directs the question at Ray, but Ray gives this look to Egon, and there's this clear, like, just look of absolute shame in Egon's face. So, even though Ray was the one accused of sleeping with the mood slime...
Well, Ray has a shame look too. So, they never opened up Ivan Reitman and the VR panel to show floor questions. So, I was really hoping to ask him, excuse me, Mr. Reitman, in your Ghostbusters virtual reality game, will it be possible to sleep with the mood slime? I particularly want to know how Egon and Ray both fucked the mood slime. Specifically, were they in the same room while fucking a mood slime? Did they both have their penises in the same mood slime container at the same time with their tips touching? Or did they, like, take turns? If they took turns fucking a mood slime, did the other person clean out their semen from the mood slime container so the other one wouldn't get sloppy seconds? Thank you. They didn't ever open up the Florida questions, though, so missed opportunity. Am I right? So, anyway, Super Mario Odyssey, that's what it's called.
We have kept I Am Gibbon waiting long enough.
Yeah, so for those of you who are not in the loop, I Am Gibbon is DK Vine regular. And he maintains DKGirder.com, which is the arcade equivalent of what DK Vine is. DK Vine starts with Donkey Kong Country. We're about the rare shared universe, starting with Donkey Kong Country. That is our Donkey Kong. We're rare centric. Up through Sea of Thieves and Ukulele, and we still follow Rare's Donkey Kong, which great. Great for us, but what I Am Gibbon does is he says, no, let's start with Donkey Kong Arcade, and maybe not so focused on shit like It's Mr. Pants, you fucking weirdos. So that we love Gibbon, and so I Am Gibbon is also irrationally obsessed with the character of Pauline, Mario's ex-girlfriend, who he was shagging back in the arcade games, and whenever he moved to the Mushroom Kingdom, he dropped hard for royalty. He traded up and bedded himself into the royal family of the Mushroom Kingdom, but. He loves Pauline. Of course, Pauline did come back in the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series, starting with the second game in that series. But Pauline hasn't really been a staple in any Mario games, especially never any mainline Mario games like Super Mario Odyssey. Well, come to find out, we saw the New Donk City heavy trailer for Super Mario. Well, before we get to Pauline, because fuck you, Gibbon, I want to bring up some of the other worlds we saw in the Super Mario Odyssey trailer, not related to Donkey Kong, because what the fuck? So the impression I got from the trailer, and I'm wrong, but the impression I got from the trailer was that Super Mario Odyssey clearly had to be Mario hopping the multiverse. I thought that the ship, I'm gonna put on my my nerd cappy here. I thought the ship was that Mario's traveling in on his Odyssey was like the ship used by DC Comics characters in like the works of Grant Morrison. The ship they use to go through the bleed of the multiverse to go from world to world, as seen in like Final Crisis. So because I thought what the trailer seemed to suggest to me was that Super Mario Odyssey was Mario traveling to different kinds of game genres. So he was in his prehistoric world with an ultra-realistic T-Rex. Not a cartoony T-Rex.
No, let's be fair, it didn't have feathers, so it's not that realistic.
A classic T-Rex. I'm sorry, but dinosaurs look stupid with feathers, and I don't care. I don't care what really happened. I choose to make my own reality. It's 2017. We can do that now. Everything we don't agree with is just fake news. So, yeah, there's a realistic-looking T-Rex. There's that, like, south of the border kind of Mexican-style town. Like, all the worlds just seem like they're from different games than what is traditionally Mario, including New Donk City, kind of, you know? So that's what I thought the game was going to be. Mario hopping through the multiverse of video games, which would have been really cool, but that's not the case. It all takes place on the same planet.
Yeah, and I think we were both very blown away kind of by this trailer that was shown, and just sort of this nonstop ride of off-the-wall craziness. Like, this looks like a very interesting game outside of just us being interested in it because of all the name-dropping of unfortunately obscure characters.
Yeah, so we already knew a lot about this from the Super Mario Odyssey reveal back during the Switch reveal. See our season premiere from Season 5 of the Kongversation, Episode 501, Switch Fest, for our like detailed thoughts on that, because we went through that footage like it was the Zapruder film to bring back JFK, which is a much better alternative than Adolf Hitler. But so we were curious, if we'd seen any new street signs. We haven't really seen anything. There is a Radley Street that somebody sussed out, but the unfortunate thing, as amazing as it is that they reference Radley, who is a pretty obscure animal buddy, despite being in arguably the best Donkey Kong Country game, they spelled Radley wrong. They spelled it Rattley. And Nintendo, I know you're not listening because we're blacklisted and you want nothing to do with DK Vine. I appreciate that, by the way. Our fault. My bad. Sorry. But you spelled Radley wrong, so please fix that. It's no E between the L and Y. Come on. You own this character. Do something with it and then get the name right. But we didn't really see too much in the way of new street signs, but we did find out that Pauline is the mayor of New Donk City, and she's singing at the New Donk City Festival, which is apparently what you're doing in New Donk City. Is there's this festival, and you need to recruit musicians for, or at least that's one aspect of New Donk City. This is what I think people are playing with. We haven't played Super Mario Odyssey yet at E3. We're going to try to do that tomorrow, assuming the lines aren't murder, but yeah, so you got to recruit musicians for Pauline, which, good for them that they have such a friendly relationship despite that ending in tears and heartbreak. And Pauline's gotten into politics now. And I know there's a lot of debate right now about what New Donk City is in comparison to Big Ape City, or Big City as it was called in Donkey Kong 94. See, Rare didn't even establish this. This was something they built upon from Donkey Kong 94, the Game Boy Donkey Kong, the last stand of the classic arcade series. And there's a lot of debate. Like, clearly New Donk City is supposed to be where the original arcade games took place. And well, okay, whoa. On the according to Karate Joe, they said on the Treehouse stream that Pauline and the Kongs are now on good terms. So there's been a lot of fear. I'm jumping ahead right now, but there's been a lot of fear and maybe some hope that Donkey Kong is going to be the boss of New Donk City, because they've been very coy about whether Donkey Kong actually appears in this or not. And there's no reason to be coy because it's New Donk City. You would expect Donkey Kong to be making an appearance. And if they're being coy about it, then really that seems to confirm that, yeah, he'll be in it somewhere. But we've already seen this weird centipede, like, possible boss. So I'm not really sure what the deal is there. But if he is on good terms with Pauline, then maybe there won't be some sort of kidnapping and some sort of replication of the arcade games, but in 3D, which, thinking about would be kind of cool to see. even though I don't really want them picking at that scab.
Speaking of which, something I'm kind of like into about this integration of Pauline's character into this game is I'm glad to see the character doing something like it, that they've made her the mayor of this city. I feel like when they dropped Pauline back like after DK94, I mean, I think it was obviously because Peach had kind of superseded her role. She wasn't really given a character other than Mario's girlfriend. And when they brought her back for Mario vs. Donkey Kong, they dropped the girlfriend and kind of just made her Mario's important friend. And she...
Which, by the way, I think it's really weird that Peach is so cool with him hanging around Pauline all the time. Like, that's not something that's done. Like, you don't just like, you're not in a stable relationship for 30 years and be like, yeah, my high school flame and I are having dinner. Like, what?
I don't know how we can't all adhere to Mike Pence's rigid stance. But anyway, this is something I've kind of like wanted to see them do with Pauline's character since they brought her back for the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series. Like, give this character some form of progression from DK Arcade so that she has a new role rather than... Because she's sort of this character without a role now, at least prior to this game, and...
No, that's Donkey Kong now.
But I recall, like, I'll give a shout-out to Michael Peterson, M-Dog, on the DK Vine forum. A while back, he did this sort of reinterpretation of Pauline, like, should she appear in, like, a Donkey Kong Country game, as this sort of, like, she had become... in the intervening years from DK Arcade, this, like, nature enthusiast, naturalist, like, in the wearing attire sort of similar to Saberman and...
Jane Goodall.
Yeah, Jane Goodall type. Thank you. And I was really into that because even though I don't have a lot of attachment to Pauline as a character because I'm more of a Donkey Kong Country fan than DK Arcade fan, I like the idea of this character having a progressive path in their life over time, the same sort of way Mario moved from being, and granted some of this stuff has been retconned and who knows what makes sense anymore, a New York carpenter, like, trying to sort out his issues with Donkey Kong to this plumber hero of this magical world. Like, I liked that she was sort of... They gave her another role. And I like that they brought her back to play this role as mayor in New Donk City because it shows that, oh, this character has a life outside of being Mario's maybe girlfriend.
Yeah, I mean, it's been my main criticism of the Mario cast, Peach included, Daisy, that they're mostly just defined. And by the way, I think the plot of Super Mario Odyssey as it is disappointing. That it's yet another Peach is being kidnapped and Bowser is now trying to marry her. And yeah, it's cute that they have these amiibos in like wedding attire. And yeah, people are already saying I'm gonna use them for my wedding cake.
And I do think it's nice that people are saying they will use Mario and Bowser to top their wedding cakes.
Right, and I assume then Bowser would be topping Mario, you know what I mean? Because anyway, where was I after the brutal anal sex imagery? I mean, Mario's buttocks would just be torn in half. I mean, just blood everywhere. Santorum just through the roof. My God, I mean, anyway, so, yes, and Karate Joe just responded with the some pride symbol in Twitch, so, respect. Where were you? Yeah, so I don't like the plot that is my main criticism with the female Mario cast. They are always in service to the males in their lives, whether it's Bowser wanting to kidnap or Mario needing to rescue, or Daisy just being like, I don't know, Luigi's... Daisy was literally brought back because Luigi schlepped her in the Super Mario Brothers movie, and that was like the one aspect of that actually became canon in the Mario games, thanks to Camelot. Weirdly enough, gotta love Camelot. I'm not being like facetious there. Like I think that's cool. And so Daisy was brought back just because Luigi needed a doubles partner and needed a girlfriend. And I like when female characters have independence. You look at Dixie; she's much more than just Diddy's girlfriend, and she's never been kidnapped once. While Diddy can't say that, and I don't know. It's problematic, and it looks like Pauline is actually being the first character to get past that, 100% get past that. And that's cool to see, especially since she does have the historical connections to Donkey Kong. So, I'm not an arcade Donkey Kong fan, but I gotta respect it, because those are where the roots for the Donkey Kong universe are. And, my thinking on this has evolved. I'm never going to be an arcade Donkey Kong fanatic, but I gotta respect it, and I do smile now when I do see those red girders. I've got the amiibo stand that are the Donkey Kong girders, and I have all my DKU amiibos on the red girders, including like Shovel Knight because he was in Ukulele. So. I am maturing a bit. So, anyway, so Pauline became mayor of New Donk City, and people are cheering for me because I like red girders now. I don't know what to think about that. I was hoping people would cheer for me for many other reasons in my life, but I'll take what I can get at this point. So. I had a fan wank about Pauline, and I don't know how well this holds up because we're like I don't know what New Donk City is going to really wind up being, but just this was an idea I had waiting to get into E3 on the first day yesterday. When our day? I feel like we're in a black hole, and time has just become relative, and like 80 years have passed on the outside. And then Matthew McConaughey falls through the bookcase, and he's his own daughter's ghost. And then he gets sucked out, and then his daughter's an old woman, and then she dies. But it's all right, because I gotta go fuck Anne Hathaway on the habitable planet, baby. I'm out Matthew McConaughey, or I'm out Bill Clinton. I don't know, but I wish Ray and Egon left me some of that mood slime, because, baby, I'm in the mood for porking. So I had a fan wank about Pauline. I'm sorry, I'm fading because E3 is just kicking our ass. And luckily I haven't gone through the whole Chad laryngitis. So if I can get to the end of this episode, I'll be in the clear. So my fan wank about Pauline was, in case we had to go this route, let's say New Donk City is Big Ape City. And I think by all intents and purposes, the developers of Super Mario Odyssey they haven't even forgotten Big Ape City / Big City from Donkey Kong 94 and Donkey Kong Land. They just don't know it exists, or they don't care. And they went with New Donk City. They went with their own thing. And okay, so let's just say we have to reconcile this for whatever reason. Well, for whatever reason, because we're DK Vine. God damn it. That's the reason. Should be reason enough. So we just had a big election last year. Lots of like votes, controversial. I mean, politics is on everybody's mind. So let's just say November 2016, Big Ape City had mayoral elections. And because of the climate around the world, this quote-unquote populist uprising, Pauline came back to Big Ape City, where she was so tormented in the past, in her youth, back when she crashed on Big Ape City on that cruise ship, DK Vine Fanon, and she decided, you know what, I'm going to reclaim my the darkest moment of my life, and I am going to run as a change candidate in Big Ape City. We are going to clean up Big Ape City. We are going to put up a wall around Big Ape City and get the apes out of Big Ape City. They're going to be deported. We are going to make Big Ape City a human enclave, the only human enclave in the modern Rare Archipelago. So because it was a weird election season, and because Putin needed to hack the vote here too, Russia hacked the vote of Big Ape City, and Pauline became mayor, and she booted the Kongs out, and humans moved in, and that is why there are street signs and businesses that are still in the name of the Donkey Kong Country characters. By the way, we've determined that the reason K. Rool has his own street, it's the same reason Jefferson Davis has like streets named after him. It's just like that was like a Kremlin like district of Big Ape City, and like, you know, they still fly the Kremlin Jolly Roger, you know, and people are like, you know, you got to take that flag down, and they're like, it's heritage, it's not hate.
I would also think, like, anytime somebody brings up that issue with the mayor, they have to also mention, yeah, well, didn't your like adoptive nephew, I don't know what's going on there, kind of genocide an entire race of...
Right. That was their Benghazi. Oh,
jeez.
What?
Jeez.
Yeah, anyway, so yeah, Pauline became mayor of Big Ape City, booted the apes out. Commuter Kong, you gotta get out, you fucker. Sorry, you're out of work, man. Back to the jungle for you. And then humans moved in, so this human enclave. But I know this doesn't work anymore, guys. Just let me finish my thought. And then when Donkey Kong inevitably would appear as a boss, that's Donkey Kong saying, no more, resist, we got to take back Big Ape City and take it back from this colossal disaster of a mayor that is Pauline. And I know, Gibbon, you love this theory. So, but apparently, like, New Donk City is like in like the Metro Kingdom, and it's not an island. This is all to be determined. If need be, I will find a way to fan wank this. Have no fear, DK Vine Nation. We're going to get out of this. We're going to preserve both the history of Big Ape City as seen in Donkey Kong Land, and we'll find a way to reconcile it with New Donk City. There's going to be an elegant solution. I'm not worried about this. And if Donkey Kong appears in this, and this is DKU, you know what? We are going to embrace that as well. It's life is too short to get hung up on this shit. We're going to make it work, whether Nintendo cares about it or not. And they don't. But we're going to make it work because we do. And that's who we are, and that's okay. Everybody can have their cake and eat it too. And Pauline loves chocolate cake. She has the most luxurious chocolate cake. It's terrific, the best. So anyway, yeah, let's talk about the Super Mario Odyssey set, and then we'll take some calls.
Yeah. Again, this is something that. Again, my first time at E3, I think people kind of have the idea that you go to E3 to play games, and I wasn't too I wouldn't be too broken up if I didn't get to play certain titles that interested me, and this kind of stuff is why. Nintendo's set is absolutely amazing this year. They've for those of you who haven't seen it, they've themed their entire section, not just a section devoted to Mario Odyssey, their entire area of the E3 show floor to this New Donk City set. It's completely enclosed in what from the outside is a red box. You have lining the walls this sort of mural they've assembled from like screenshots of New Donk City. you have physical street signs up that say, I believe, Cranky Street and Squawks Park Avenue, I believe.
Yeah.
Which is unbelievably surreal that Squawks has a presence at E3 this year.
Yeah, so again, it's the weird cognitive dissonance of Donkey Kong being referenced everywhere and Donkey Kong being nowhere at the same time. I would never thought I would see the day where both Cranky and Squawks play a prominent role in Nintendo's set design, even if it's just a name only. And I mean, we got pictures of it. It's all on social media. Check it out. But it's surreal, and I don't know why. I think people were like kind of curious why we kept coming by and taking pictures of it. As like, what's the big deal? But to us, to DK Vine, it is kind of a little moment of triumph, small, but still significant. I mean, if you think we're excited about this, just wait till Super Nintendo World and the Donkey Kong Line. If what's coming is accurate, then I mean that animatronic Kongs, and by the way, I think our party house is haunted because I keep seeing shadows go by in the kitchen, and apparently the party house is over 100 years old, and I keep seeing like shadows in the kitchen, so we might have a ghost in here, but I'm sure Helmast, it might just be Helmast's friends, it might be David Bowie for all we know. So and by the way, if there are ghosts and there is mood slime, I will fuck it. I will fuck the shit out of that. No, actually, I'm a married man. I can't fuck mood slime. So, wait, people are yelling at us. What?
The chat wants to... Special Agent Ape, that would be the aforementioned Agent Ape / Andrew, former developer of Conker's Pocket Tales HD, is asking us to share the Wheel of Fortune thing Adam keeps mentioning.
Okay, this is a completely different tangent, so you know what? I'm going to get to it after we're done talking about what we're talking about. Is that okay? Oh, is that okay? Thank you. Yeah, we'll bring it up. So anyway, the set design is amazing. They've got carpet that looks like the road, so it looks like it's asphalt or pavement. With like street like
street paint. It's painted like with crosswalks and such. It's a really nice area.
But it's carpet.
Yes, it is carpet, and very, very, very plush, comfortable carpet, which is good because it's Nintendo. You'll be standing in line for a while.
Yeah, in comparison to Microsoft's carpet, which felt like quicksand. This was actually just the right length of comfort, but firm. So that was good. They've got like building facades everywhere, and actually, there's one facade where you go get your cappy, which is what they're calling Mario's googly-eyed hat. You can get a cappy visor if you play the game, and so you actually go into this like building facade and get your visor. But it's really impressive. There is a doorbell that I discovered, and I couldn't get to the doorbell today because I think they had it more blocked off today. But yesterday, there's this doorbell I found, and I kept pressing it. It's part of the set design. It's not a functional doorbell. It doesn't make a chiming noise, but you can press it, and it's right next to a door. So what I was hoping was I would press a doorbell, and like Miyamoto would pop out in a bathrobe or something, and I could get an interview with him. But alas, I think they just, when building this set design, they like literally bought a doorbell from Lowe's or something and just installed it, but like nothing, it was hooked up to nothing. But yeah, this is an impressive set design. They also have actors playing everybody's favorite Mario species, humans in city attire. So I posed. Well, we all posed with this guy.
Yeah, we all had to pose with this guy just for the sheer bafflement and thrill that this was a thing they were doing. They leaned into what people loved about New Donk City hard this year. I mean, you've got a picture with them.
Yeah, so he's dressed in a very like 1940s or early 50s kind of, even like pre-Don Draper kind of like classically dressed man. He almost looks like a wise guy, like a mafia type, you know. And they've got women too. Today I didn't see the dude, but they had a woman dressed in like very like elaborate clothes with the big hat, and they also had another woman behind the Nintendo, behind the whole New Donk City stage near the Nintendo urinals, which I'm happy to report are in the same place. And I did go venture in, and I had my penis out next to two Nintendo of Japan employees. That sounds weird. Let me clarify again for anybody listening to this who thinks I'm just some sort of weirdo pervert because I mentioned like dicks 17 times in the last 40 minutes. The restroom, the toilets behind the Nintendo setup there's no urinals. It's one big trough that you all just the men's room. You all just saddle up to it and you pee next to each other without any divider. So it's a very, very intimate way to get to know complete strangers. And this is the bathroom that Nintendo employees, Nintendo of America and Nintendo of Japan employees have to use because it's right behind the Nintendo setup. And so you see all the time Nintendo employees in there. And I went in there today next to two Nintendo of Japan employees, just strolled right up to them, took a piss next to them. And everybody's dead silent, though. I didn't get any juicy tidbits because I was hoping I'd hear. They'd be probably speaking Japanese, so I wouldn't understand them. But I was hoping I'd hear some English, Diddy Kong Racing, perhaps. But nothing. So I'm sorry. I'll hit up the Nintendo urinals tomorrow, and I'll hopefully get some juicy tips, if you know what I mean. So anyway, yeah, this guy, this mafia type guy, we all posed with him. And by the way, Mamechi is losing his goddamn mind in the chat right now because this guy broke character with us because we asked him, can you pose with us? I was like, oh yeah, sure. And he did a very like serious, like, I'm a wise guy. I'm some sort of like city piece of shit pose. But he talked with us like a normal guy afterwards. And Mamechi saying you can't do that when you're a costume character because at Disneyland and at Disney World they never break character. You get fired when you break character. Mamechi, E3 is not Disneyland. As much as Nintendo leans into the whole kind of pseudo theme park aspect, they're not Disneyland. Okay, I'm sorry. I know he's saying multiple times it's bullshit. It's bullshit. He isn't a character like the human characters in Buena Vista Street. I don't know what that is.
You know it's not Disneyland because they're not rebuilding the tower from DK Arcade into a Guardians of the Galaxy ride.
There you go. So it's better than Disneyland, Mamechi, according to your logic. So it was cool to see. It was fun to see. And I wish we saw that guy because I have something else in mind if I see him again. And so hopefully he'll be there tomorrow. No spoilers. I'll reveal what I have planned if we don't see him on our E3 wrap up episode next week. But yeah, it was a weird reversal this year because if you've listened to the E3 conversations the past 2 years, you'll know that we've kind of. Nintendo had a very impressive setup for Zelda last year, but it was gated off. You couldn't get into it unless you got in the line to play the game, and there was just no time to do that. So we've been very critical of Nintendo's setups the past 2 years. We said Nintendo is kind of cheesy, and you'll have no like interaction with any actual developers who've actually worked on the games. The booth babe syndrome, as we dismissively refer to it as, and to a certain extent that's still the case, but by sheer infrastructure, this is the first year Nintendo had Microsoft beat. Microsoft just set up an abysmal experience, and it's unfortunate for Rare and Sea of Thieves, but I was impressed with Nintendo's setup, and Cappy's off to them, I guess you can say. Hat Kong's off to them, and it was quite the sight to see. And if we're in line a long time for Super Mario Odyssey tomorrow, we're going to be soaking in further details from that set. and Memechi is saying "fuck you" because we're okay with this one human paid to be in a suit at Nintendo's E3 display, being nice to us. So yeah, we are literally worse than Hitler, which is the best VR attraction.
I mean, does this make him the nicest a Nintendo employee has ever been to you?
Well, he's a temporary Nintendo employee, which, by the way, my least favorite Paul McCartney song. Nick would have been on point for that. I'm sorry, Cameron. So anyway, Karate Man Joe says the beginning of Hyle's Nintendo fan transformation. I am a Nintendo fan. I'm just a peculiar Nintendo fan. I am a mid-90s play it loud Nintendo fan. Nintendo evolved away from me, and I evolved away from Nintendo. But occasionally, we do, see eye to eye. So we have just a couple calls to take, and then we will wrap up this episode. And Memechi can continue to stroke out in our chat because he's
upset about the Guardians of the Galaxy joke.
Oh, is he? Okay. Well, he's always upset about Guardians of the Galaxy.
I think of all the jokes to get upset about that we tell, that's a fairly tame one.
Yeah. Where was the whole? Okay, never mind. Let's hear what somebody else has to say. Unless Memechi called in, and let's just hear what he has to say about Guardians of the Galaxy in Disneyland.
Hello, DK Vine. It's me, Karate Joe, and I'm here to talk about the Nintendo Spotlight E3 2017. So I'll get my feelings out of the way. I loved it, but I'm here to talk about something very specific. So we learned in Super Mario Odyssey. First of all, Pauline's there, and that's amazing. So happy for you, Gibbon. Oh, man. And Super Mario Odyssey, by the way, I am overjoyed by. It's like everything. It caters so much to me. Like, it's got like a devil's bottle sort of thing, and it's got all these big open worlds, and the collectibles are like Banjo style. You stay in the world. Oh, man, I love it. Anyways, so, New Donk City. During the Treehouse, they talked about New Donk City's history, and they mentioned, like, oh, are we going to see any Donkey Kong characters pop up? And I forget, probably should have researched exactly what they said, but it was an interesting response along the lines of, we can't talk about that. So, that's scary, but it's also wonderful. I don't think it's scary. A lot of people are saying, oh, this hints that Donkey Kong's going to be the boss. But we already know that giant metal centimede's the boss. So what I'm thinking is that, like, Donkey Kong's going to be the climax. Like, it's like, oh man, this is the part where I get to meet Donkey Kong, and that's amazing. Like, oh man, Nintendo sees Donkey Kong as this big icon, because he is. I think a lot of DK Vine tends to forget that Donkey Kong's, like, by name, probably the most recognizable video game character. Anyways, yeah, I love that. Actually, that was all purely speculation on my part, but I would love that if it happened. Like, Donkey Kong's treated as the reward for doing all the New Donk City stuff. Like, oh, there he comes, the big star. Anyways, another Donkey Kong-related thing. Metroid Prime 4 isn't being made by Retro. So I think Donkey Kong still in the cards. Again, it's a big name. Very possible. I don't know when we would see it. Probably not until next year. Retro's very, very sneaky. Very quiet. Anyways, the 2D Metroid looks great. I hope they move on to make a Switch one next, preferably completely original. But yeah, I loved all of it. So I hope you did too. Goodbye.
Thank you for the call, Karate Joe. And to speak on your point about how Donkey Kong would appear in New Donk City, if he's not the boss, which, I don't know, after the information we've gotten, he might not be. He might just make an appearance like as a well-wisher at the end, like you suggest. But it does bring to mind that if Nintendo really wants to get this right, it can't be the modern Donkey Kong, or it shouldn't just be the modern Donkey Kong. Cranky Kong should appear as well. And there's some theories, if Donkey Kong is a boss, should it even be the modern DK, the rare DK, or should it be just the arcade the version, like the classic, like just sprite art, as seen in the classic Adam Sandler vehicle Pixels. And everybody loves Pixels, right? Come on, it's hilarious. It's so good, so good. And one cool idea I've heard, or maybe I had it, or maybe I heard it. I don't remember anymore. E3 man kicks your ass, as I said. It would be really cool if the boss was Cranky Kong in a mech suit that looks like the classic arcade Donkey Kong. So it could be like a giant gorilla, but it's like Cranky Kong piloting it inside. That would be a have your cake and eat it too for both the arcade purist and the Donkey Kong Country zealots. So I think that would be perfect, but we're never going to get that, so why am I even bringing it up? Just to disappoint myself later. It's what I do. So, Cameron, do you have any thoughts about how Donkey Kong should appear in New Donk City?
Honestly, I think you've pretty much nailed it. I feel like, obviously, point blank, Donkey Kong shouldn't have a villainous role in this game, period. I don't know how confident to be in that happening, but this is odd in that New Donk City is a very different take on the arcade callbacks than we're used to, and I guess we'll see if the rule of Diddy that Donkey Kong cannot be a toothy grin jackass as long as Diddy Kong is present extends to just having his name dropped.
Yeah, and it's just weird. This is weird. Like again, I like to say the term again, cognitive dissonance. To have all these country references down to Radley with an extra E, and then then to have it be arcade like themed as its backbone. And how is Donkey Kong going to really shake out in that with the dueling dichotomies of Kong? I don't know. And it's going to be something we're going to be watching because Super Mario Odyssey comes out in October, I believe 27th. So happy fucking Halloween, Donkey Kong Land purist. It's going to be a bunch of hogwash, that's for sure. I realize I have a hard hat, but I really like what Rare set up with Donkey Kong Land, and I know all these swirlwind warnings are coming from Nintendo that it's about to be demolished, but Wild Sting Fling is also a character from Donkey Kong Land. Let's take this other call, please, because I am clearly falling into the abyss of my own mind.
Hey, Hyle, and insert host name here this week. It is Banjo-Kazooie 2000. Hopefully my call doesn't get lost to the Twilight Zone or something. But about Nintendo at E3 today. I watched from the beginning of the stream, and I was actually thoroughly pleased by what was shown. We now live in a world that 2 Metroid games are coming out. So now Metroid fans have no reason to be mad at us anymore because Retro made a new Donkey Kong game over their prime ribs. Besides that, the new Mario Odyssey footage and the new trailer with the nice song, presumably sung by Pauline, is actually amazing. So I'm super hyped up for Odyssey. I might actually have to buy a Switch for it. But yeah, that's all I really got to talk about. Also, the Superstar Saga getting a remake of some kind. That's great. Along with the new side game, Bowser's Minions. That's a good thing, too. I know you're at E3 right now, Hyle, so I just kind of want to ask you, what is it actually like being in the booths? What is the smell? What is the vibe in the air? Is it like good vibes or like, I don't know. Anyways, that's all I really got to talk about. This is Banjo-Kazooie 2 2000, up, over, under, and out.
Thank you for the call. Engage. The smell of E3. Well, let's get into the smell of E3. What is the aura, the feng shui of E3, and the odors, the aroma? You know, whenever I would get presents on Christmas morning, I would sniff them so I could ascertain what Santa Claus and his workshop actually smelled like. They'd always smell like my parents' own house. So I just assumed maybe Santa Claus was without his own musky aroma. But I like your way of thinking, Engage, because this is the kind of shit I would wonder as well. The smell of E3, it varies. It smells very like kind of like a hospital waiting room at times. But then because it's filled with people, you get very often the whiff of BO. Like people will walk by and you'll smell them and you'll be repulsed. And that happened quite a few times and today, and it's just foul.
I think it's a factor that this is summer in LA. It's not just the literal unwashed masses.
Although there are unwashed masses there aplenty. So yeah, E3 kind of just smells like, I guess, a hospital, like waiting room or lobby, and I think it's just all the cleaning supplies and like, I mean, it's a giant convention center and it's hosting events year round that, you know, not just E3.
Does the smell of E3 extend to the raw sewage around the parking garages?
No, that's just the natural scent of Los Angeles, Cameron.
I see.
Yeah. Chad's not here to talk shit about Los Angeles, so I'll have to do it for him. Thank you for the call, though. I really do appreciate it. If anybody wants me to sniff something tomorrow, I will tell you how it smells. That is up to and including rare employees. So, thank you for listening. This is Hyle and Cameron coming to you from the last time, at least this year, from the DK Vine Party House. Keep checking DK Vine because we will still have E3 stuff trickling out over the next few days and into, honestly, next week, I'm sure. And next week, we will be having our E3 wrap-up episode of the Kongversation. And we're making plans for that, where we'll give all the final thoughts on what happened on the last day and things that we've had a week to ruminate on and share. So, and that will be about both Rare and Nintendo. So stay tuned for that. For now, I'm Hyle Russell.
And I'm Cameron Reigle.
And we need to actually eat dinner because it is 1:32 a.m. On the East Coast, which is what our bodies are used to, and we still have not had dinner, and I can feel my insides devouring themselves. So this would be normally a time where I would, depart with some witty saying, but unfortunately, I think I don't have a stomach lining anymore, so I'm going to have to actually coat it with some of that mood slime that Egon and Ray just totally spunked up. So hopefully it's not like an Elton John situation where I have to have my stomach pumped afterwards.
This has been a File 2 production.
Que rico.
And now, as a bonus, here's the Wheel of Fortune anecdote. So last night, Cameron and I went out to dinner with ACZ, who is known to listeners of the Kongversation. He was on the Ukulele World 2 episode most recently, talking about Glitter Glaze Glacier. He's also an Iron Finger on the DK Vine forum, along with Agent Ape and Scrap69. And because he's at E3 as a reporter for Geekscape, and we so, okay, we'll go out to dinner with you, man. And so we went out to LA Live and went to a pizza restaurant there because I can get vegetarian options there, and Cameron and him can get heaps of meat. And then it was also the least busy place within walking distance. But the most busy place, by the way, to make you demoralized, Hooters. So thank you, video gamers. So we went to the pizza restaurant, and we got our pizzas, and we sat down, and because they anticipated a crowd of elderly people, Wheel of Fortune was up on the TV. It was on mute, but we would be watching the wheel spinning and them trying to solve the puzzle. And it's interesting watching Wheel of Fortune on mute because you don't really need to hear Pat say Jack, nor would you want to. So you can just try to solve the puzzle along with them. And so the puzzle was clearly the answer they're trying to solve was a streetcar named Desire. Classic title. And I mean, we all guessed it pretty early on before they solved the number of letters.
I think maybe under half of the letters were revealed, and we were sitting there the entire time. It's a streetcar named Desire. It's a streetcar named Desire. This maybe took it. It took them until there was one letter left. Nobody had tried to solve the puzzle.
Yeah, and we were screaming at the TV, and we didn't know what they solved it with or what they tried to solve it with, but it just kept going and going and going, and we're like, "What is wrong with you? How do you not know a streetcar named Desire?" And come to find out, this is kind of also this has been a meme on the internet since it aired. They tried to solve it as a streetcar naked Desire.